Becoming a Whirlwind Plus member just got even better. A new perk is Tuesday is guest day. Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass has Whirlwind Plus. It's only $299 for the year. And now, every Tuesday until June 1st, Whirlwind Plus allows you to bring a guest and both of you receive the Whirlwind Plus membership discount. Go to whirlwindgolf.com, click on Whirlwind Plus, and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Form an offense.
Form an offense.
4 minutes.
Form an offense. Form an offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in Glendale, Arizona. Cardinals started the year 2-0. They've now lost 5 straight, losing to Green Bay 27-23 because of a 14-3 loss in the fourth quarter. Coach, what happened in the fourth quarter to your defense?
Well, I didn't stop them. After the takeaway, 2 explosive passes, we were limited in explosive passes. We thought we were okay in the run game. After the turnover, we gave up 2 explosives, scored, and then on the last drive, we got to figure out a way to get off. I think we did some good things on third down. I think they converted 2 or 3, got to have it, so just got to put them in the right position and win.
Jacoby Brissett looked wonderful. 25 of 36, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Teo Mackey, reporter, Arizona Republic.
Kyler still be the starting quarterback when he's healthy? Why?
Nothing's changed, Teo.
Coach says Kyler Murray will still be the starting quarterback when he returns from injury, probably the Monday night game in 2 weeks. What a win for Arizona State. Controlled much of the game. Texas Tech then took a lead, and ASU came back with a game-winning touchdown to win 26-22. Every Texas Tech win in the Big 12 was by at least 24 points, and in this game, Texas Tech didn't even score that many. Head coach Kenny Dillingham, what'd you think of the Sun Devil defense?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. From start to finish, it was absolutely unbelievable what they did out there. Offense was, for what their defense has done to people, offense was unbelievable. If we can just get out of our own freaking way, it's going to drive me. We won. We'll talk about that a different day.
Devils move back into the top 25, sitting at number 24. Up next, Houston Cougars in Tempe. Kickoff Saturday, 5 o'clock. Speaking of the Cougars, they were at home and they beat UofA 31-28 on a last-second field goal, despite Noah Fafita being incredible. 24 of 26, 269 yards, and he threw as many touchdown passes as incompletions. 2. Head coach Brent.
You know how I feel about Noah Fafita. He's special in every way. I mean that. And to be 24 or 26, how many times has that ever happened in college football? That's a ridiculous day. I see Tony Daniel in the room. I promise you, he never went 24 for 26. All right.
Up next, the bye week for U of A. Then they'll take on the Colorado Buffaloes on November 1st. U of A Hoops had a scrimmage yesterday, and according to reports, looked great. They beat St. Mary's 81-68 in front of 13,000 at McHale. Jaden Bradley had 23 points on 7 of 11 shooting. Up next, the number 13 Wildcats take on the number 3 Florida Gators 2 weeks from today. Huge win for the Rising. They beat San Antonio 1-0 and then leapfrogged San Antonio in the standing. Charlie Dennis scored in the 11th minute, and that lead was able to hold up because Peter Rakowski earned his 5th clean sheet of the year and his 2nd in back-to-back game. Up next, if the Rising win, they're in. They got 1 game left. They travel to Pittsburgh Saturday, 4 o'clock. Vladimir Guerrero has 6 home runs in the postseason and only 2 strikeouts. Toronto beat Seattle 6-2 to force a Game 7 in the ALCS. George Kirby for the Mariners, Shane Bieber for the Blue Jays. Tonight, 5:08. Some quick football you need to know. Billy Napier, head coach of Florida, is no longer the head coach of Florida. He was fired. Jaden Daniels, former Sun Devil, getting an MRI on a bad hamstring he hurt in the Dallas Cowboys loss. And the Denver Broncos did something amazing. Didn't score for the first 3 quarters, then scored 33 points in the fourth quarter alone and beat the Giants 33-32. And finally, now if I say the forever roll, what do you think that is? It's toilet paper. Starting this Thursday, Charmin is coming out with a big new toilet paper roll. 1,700 sheets of toilet paper. It's designed to last for a month if you're a 2-person household. It's 32 times larger than the regular roll of toilet paper. Charmin's even giving you a 30-day money-back guarantee. Which brings up some disgusting jokes on how do you show them that you were unsatisfied.
With the holidays coming up, another great thing about Bell's is we have a great catering package. You can rent out half of the space. You can rent out the entire space. A really cool thing is we don't have a set price tag. It kind of depends on your group, how many people you're bringing in, what kind of food you're looking for. We can cater any group to you, any price tag, any menu pretty much that you want that's within our realm, catering to what you're looking for in your specific event.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
Improved a little bit. Got to get better next week because I got all of my sound ready for today's show at some point around 3 o'clock this morning. So I'm getting better. But man, this is 7 days, working 7 days a week. Woo! Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening. Whatever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, UofA, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? I'm doing good. I always struggle a little bit on a Monday because I try to be normal on Friday and Saturday night, sleep like a normal person, and then all of a sudden trying to stay up again on Sunday. So I'm a little frazzled, and then the 10:30 appearance on 12 News is always a little bit of a struggle to try to get back into it. But boy, I gotta tell you, I messed up last night. I don't know how it happened. So I've learned this phrase in television called SOT, S-O-T, which stands for sound on tape. When in our world, in the radio world, we just call it sound. It's not, well, of course it's on tape. It's recorded, but like nothing's on tape anymore, right? It's all digital. So we say that, but they call it a SOT. We just say sound. Well, we're standing at what they call the wall, and Lena asks a question of me, but I think she's asking the question generically. And so I'm looking at the screen waiting to see what package she's throwing to or what SOT she's throwing to. And so I don't say anything. And then she goes, Doug? Like that. And I'm like, oh. And then I start answering the question. So if you see it on YouTube, coming up today at some point, you'll know what happened. That I just thought for sure she was getting ready to play a recorded piece and they were done talking to me. So I did not pay a bit of attention. I feel so much like a doofus to have somebody have to tell you on television, Doug, you're here to answer questions. Do you have an answer? They're like, oh, hey, thanks for having me. You know, I wouldn't say I was out of it because I was focused on wondering what they were going to throw to. So that was a little funny game. A big thank you to General Mike. Huge thank you to General Mike. He is going to help out with some of my prep during the week. As you could tell last week, the way I just flamed out at the end, I need to start delegating a little bit. So he's going to take over a new stat sheet for me. So I was excited about that. Excited about Game 7 tonight for Toronto and Seattle. I hate the Seahawks bad enough that I don't really want the Mariners to win. Although it is cool to say they've never been to a World Series and to think about how that city would react to its first ever World Series. That is pretty cool. But I think I'm rooting for Toronto tonight. And the main reason is I think they have a better chance of beating the Dodgers. So I'm going to go with Toronto. That's all I care about. Just beating the Dodgers. So I'm going to try to go with Toronto, and we'll see if I'm right. Well, hopefully your weekend went really well, and if you're ready to start the week, it's time for Doug's Big One. It's my number one opinion of the day. Doug.
Doug. Where's Doug?
Here, sorry,
Doug. Where you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug right there? That was smooth.
Well, I can only answer the questions that get asked of me, Doug.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's big one. I kind of feel like that's what Lena was saying to me.
Doug. Where's Doug?
Here, sorry,
Doug. Where you at?
Hey, Doug, I just asked you a question. Doug, where you at? Okay. I guess Doug's big one today, my number one opinion is a recantation, is to look at you and namely Brent from Hydro Air Lab, but really anybody else. You were right, I was wrong. The starting quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals should be Jacoby Brissett.
Kyler still be the starting quarterback when he's healthy? Why?
Nothing's changed, Teo.
I actually am beginning to like Teo Mackey more all the time. I really liked his baseball writings in the Arizona Republic. There were a lot of things about his football writing. I didn't think he quite understood the game well enough to kind of write some of the stuff he was writing. But you can tell he works really hard at his craft, and he has zero fear in asking what needs to be asked. And there's not a lot of people like that. And the follow-up, because he's used to Jonathan Gannon with the short answers, and that's normally what'll take you by surprise when you're new to the media and somebody has quick answers. You're not always ready with the follow-up. And there's Jonathan Gannon saying, yeah, Kyler's going to be the guy. Why? Boom. Because nothing's changed. Well, why hasn't it changed? 320 yards passing in game one. 200 and what? 82 was it? Do you mind if I cheat and look it up real quick? 279 yards. Kyler has two outings this year of 220, and that's his max. What are we doing? Why isn't Jacoby Brissett the guy? When in watching the games, it's apparent, it's abundantly clear he gives the team the best chance to win. So why not make the move? Why not wake everybody up? To me, this is an organizational problem. I hope somebody asks today, and you know what? I might text Cam this question, or Mark McClune's a hardcore member of the Unplugged Army. Maybe Mark will ask it. And that is this. If you were to bench Kyler, is it 100% your decision? Is that an organizational decision? Do you have to go to the general manager and ask permission? Does the owner have to sign off on it? Where are you at on that? I'm wondering how that would go. There's a problem. There is a major problem. This team plays better under Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett actually sees defenses. He does a lot of things better than Kyler Murray. And I think the number one thing he does better is just elevate other people around him. He elevates the other players. And that is one thing that Kyler really has never been able to do. And I think it's a mistake when they go back to Kyler Murray. I totally believe they will in Dallas. And I bet you Kyler has a great game in Dallas, really. I think he's going to have a great game, and everybody is going to come pouring out onto Twitter and in every social media platform and torch everybody that is like me that is saying start Jacoby Brissett. And then they're going to fall asleep at the wheel when Kyler comes down off of that high and continues to struggle the rest of the year. I mean, the greatest thing in the world would be for him to throw for 300 yards against Dallas, and you trade him on the spot. Trade him high. Move on. Now, you're going to get wrecked by the salary cap if you trade him, but gosh, it's almost like what else you want to do? You really want to keep this train rolling? I think that train's already at the station. It's parked. It's done. Problem is trying to get out from underneath that contract. Can't get out from underneath it this year, and you can next year, but it's going to hurt, and it's going to be very painful, and I would do it anyway. And oh, by the way, it's funny. The Cardinals right now have the 9th pick in the draft, and there will be 3 quarterbacks drafted early in the draft. I thought of this today. Tell me if you think this is insane. I do. I don't have the courage to do this, okay? So I'm admitting to you it's insane. But I'll bring it up anyway. Can I sell you on this idea? Even if you're a UofA fan, please listen. Cardinals right now draft 9th. I think that'll keep getting lower. Now, I don't know how much lower because I do think the Cardinals are a lot better than the terrible, terrible teams. You might try to argue, Doug, they're terrible. Okay, I get your opinion on that. But I just feel like they're better than, they're better than the Jets. They're better than the Dolphins. They're better than the Saints. They've already proven they're better than the Saints. Now, the Titans are sitting at 1-6. Hard for me to say that the Cardinals are better than the Titans, but everybody's going to want a quarterback, okay? You're going to have to trade up if you want a quarterback, I believe. I think Ty Simpson out of Alabama is the best quarterback in this class as of right now. I would draft him in the first round. I would draft him, Dylan Gabriel, whatever the kid's name is from Indiana, and I just blanked on it, like Mendoza, I think it is, or something like that. Sorry that I can't remember, but I think it's Mendoza. I like those guys. I like Ty Simpson the most, but I'm not going to run to the podium to draft him in the first round. But if I don't like who's left, I'll take one. Yeah. But let me double down if I'm the Cardinals. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is proving to be a number 2 wide receiver, not a number 1. What about drafting Jordan Tyson in the first round and then drafting Sam Levitt in the second round? Now, I don't know where the Cardinals are going to draft. They desperately need a corner. They desperately need a right tackle or guard, and they desperately need a 3 technique. But Clemson has a great one, and he'll be off the board, Peter Woods. Yes, I'm already drifting into the draft. I love the draft. And I love McCoy, a corner who's been hurt a little bit this year for Tennessee. Obviously, check the medicals before I, jump up and down and go after him. And then I heard some interesting stuff. You're going to make fun of me. I was watching Ohio State, Indiana, which was a couple of weeks ago, but I was behind on working on stuff and heard information about Carnell Tate, who is a Ohio State wide receiver. And this young man has already graduated and is getting into real estate and home flipping while he's in school. The guy's unbelievable. So I already like him. He's going to be able to diagnose a defense if he can sit there and work on a house. I'm not drafting him, with a 9th overall pick, 7th overall pick, wherever the Cardinals end up. But I'm just kind of spitballing now. I know that they need a wide receiver. But I really like the idea of drafting Tyson and getting Sam Levitt. I want to say, why not? Why not? But really, Doug's big one is all of you that were after me to start Jacoby Brissett. You were right. Bronctober's still rolling on for another week and a half at Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. Bronco Sport starts at only $25,000, a little over $25,000. You get $10,000 off. That's incredible. Then throw in a potential friends and family discount. Hey, I'm telling you, Everybody that has emailed me, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com, and met with the people at Santan Ford, all of them have either bought a car or emailed back. They're not quite ready, but how incredible the experience was. And then you hear savings like that. If you're in the mood for a new Bronco, then you're in the mood for Santan Ford. 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. All right, let's dive into the game itself. Cardinals a loser 27-23. They lost the fourth quarter 14-3 in another major problem. However, Trey McBride came to life, 10 receptions, 74 yards, and caught both of Brissett's 2 touchdown passes. And in just looking at that, that's the wake-up call to me on why Jacoby Brissett is the guy, is how much better you see Trey McBride looking. I mean, that's reason enough alone, isn't it? To stick with that, I would think. Here is JG when he went up to the podium and first began talking.
On the injury front, I think we had a couple guys come in and out. Sweat got checked up, but he was able to come back in. We'll have some bumps and bruises, but pretty clean. So, disappointing there. Felt like came out ready to go, did some good things all 3 phases, but ultimately not enough. So we got to do more to get a win here. It's hard, but I just told them they got to, we're hitting a bye here on a skid, and we dug ourselves a hole. There's no doubt about it. We're going to have to dig ourselves out of it, and then it's going to be us that does it. So got to get reset, rest up mentally, physically, emotionally. We got to reset ourselves, and then we'll come back to work.
Well, he can talk about digging themselves out of a hole all he wants. I mean, maybe you are in total belief that they can do that. I am not in any way, because we can't even talk until you're 500, right? And if they get to 500, they'll have beaten Dallas and Seattle on the road and the 49ers at home. So that gets them to 5-5. So that just gets you to average. Now, I admit, as I look at those 3 games, I'm thinking, okay, Dallas, I thought you could beat Dallas pretty easily. And then Dallas smashed Washington yesterday. I think you can beat Seattle, but you haven't. I mean, they were the start of they were the middle game in the 3 straight last-second field goals, and that was in your building. Now you're going to Seattle, and then you're home against San Francisco, again, another team that you lost to on a last-minute field goal, and I think Brock Purdy will be healthy by then, so that doesn't look good. And then you've got 2 teams that are 400 times harder than we thought, Jacksonville and Tampa, and then you're home against the Rams. That's not a win. And then you got Houston and Atlanta. I think you beat Houston. I think Atlanta's better than anybody realized. Cincinnati is next, and that's probably a game with Joe Burrow back. And then you're at L.A. I mean, I'm looking at that stretch, and think about where they are at 2-5. You can probably lose 1 more game and go to the playoffs. So that means you've got to go 9-1 the rest of the year. That might be a little bit. I bet you can still make it with 10 wins. That's going to be, it'll be hard to make it with 10 wins, but let's say you can make it with 10 wins. So are you predicting the Cardinals are going to go 8-2? When you hear me say that, tell me they're only going to lose 2 of these games. At Dallas, at Seattle. Home against San Francisco and Jacksonville. At Tampa, home against the Rams. At Houston, home against the Falcons. End the year at Bengals, at Rams. 8-2? Yeah, I'm not buying it either. And so there's JG. Hey, we got to dig, and we'll dig ourselves out of it. Actually, no, you won't. No, you won't. Especially when you're deciding on starting the quarterback that doesn't give you the best chance to win. I mean, I understand there's a lot of pressures. And another belief is if you're going to trade him, there's no way you can trade him if you don't play him. And so you do have to showcase him. And I understand that, but I don't think that's the right move. I think you just got to move on. Rip the Band-Aid off, move on. All right, what'd you think of Jacoby Brissett in this game, Coach?
I thought he played well. I mean, you know, we seemed like we converted some third downs, a couple third and longs. Stood in there, operated. I didn't think we had any operational issues, you know, with the noise. You know, he gave us a chance to win. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, he's proud of him, but obviously you're not proud enough to get him to start. Speaking of the noise, what a horrible disadvantage to be the home team and to be forced to go into a silent count. All praise to Teo Mackey for making this reference. In his article, he was talking about the team and what was supposed to happen this year. And that is the Cardinals thought that they were going to have a handle on how they were losing fans. And he actually quoted Michael Bidwill, who said Michael's goal was to make sure that there's more of a home field advantage. And I was amazed by this. This is a quote from Michael, which was a long time ago, before the season. Quote, "We canceled a number of seats that clearly were seats where there were brokers that were selling them to out-of-town fans. We canceled those seats. We created a new seating area called Casa Roja, which is right behind the visiting team bench. I think you're going to see a lot of red behind there from now on." Now, here's what Teo Mackey wrote, looking back at last night's game in response to that quote that was said in August. But the Cardinals' actions have largely focused on creating premium seating areas, including Casa Roja, where single game tickets cost over $1,000. Those renovations have cut into the stadium's capacity, seemingly without getting more Cardinals fans in the building. And against opponents with large traveling fan bases, they've helped put the Cardinals at a home field disadvantage. Here's why that impresses me so much. I mean, he's using the words of the owner against the franchise and even saying, here's more of a reason why it's a bigger Packer advantage. He's actually staring down the owner's attempt for a luxury area as part of the problem. There aren't a lot of writers, there aren't a lot of people that have the courage to write stuff like that in this town. Anywhere else, yeah, knock yourself out. But in this town, to use the Cardinals owner's words against him, I think is a really strong move. And so I have a lot of praise for Teo Mackey. Speaking of which, speaking of Michael Bidwill, I did a little research project yesterday while I was on 12 News. I worked on this a long time ago. I brought this up a while ago when we had Ron Miniger on, and he gave us some numbers that I had no idea and looked it up. But I was just wondering how things are going. So I re-looked it up. You might not realize the Glendale Cardinals have been around longer than the Tempe Cardinals now. And if we are ranking the worst cities in Cardinals history, the worst city ever is Tempe. They had a 347 winning percentage in Tempe. Okay, 347. Next worst is Chicago. The Chicago Cardinals had a 400 winning percentage. And then guess who it is? Then it's Glendale with a 460 winning percentage. And then it's St. Louis with a 480 winning percentage. I don't know about you. I would have assumed Glendale is better, and it's not. Glendale, they're 144 and 169-2. And here's why I bring that up. Michael Bidwill got the taxpayers to pay for it. And listen, I didn't live here in town, but I would have voted yes. I want to be fair here. But he said, we need to have this taxpayer-funded building or we're not going to be able to compete with the other new stadiums, and we're not going to be able to compete as a franchise. We've got to have this new stadium. So that's how they're going to compete. And with this new stadium, they've got a .460 winning percentage, and they can't be as good as the St. Louis Cardinals. Explain how that's going. Explain how the taxpayer, the fans, are getting their just due. Now, do I agree with building the building? Yes, I do. You've had Final Fours. You've had multiple Super Bowls. You know, I believe in that stuff, but I'm not getting into the political debate with you because I understand you might not, and I respect you for it. For me, it's more of the philosophy of the city than it is the philosophy of the taxes. You have the exact same taxable bonds or whatever, or however they build stadiums. You got the exact same ideas to build a new stadium in Fargo, North Dakota for the NFL, then no, I don't think the taxpayers should pay for that. I don't think it's a good idea. Us, I do think it's a good idea. And I understand if you disagree with that. And that's why, you know, everybody that says fire Jonathan Gannon right now, I'm kind of like, I'm defending Jonathan Gannon because here's my opinion. Can you really win if Michael Bidwill is the owner? Who gives you the best chance to win with Michael Bidwill as owner? To me, it's actually Jonathan Gannon. Even though this is atrocious. I mean, it is crazy. 3 straight field goal loss, walk-off field goal loss has never been done before. And a 5-game losing streak of 5 straight games by 1 possession. That's never been done before. So does it show you that Jonathan Gannon is great at keeping the team to fight? Does it show you how great he is that with an inferior quarterback through most of those games, he's able to keep it close? Or are there coaching errors that are costing the team so dramatically that they can't hold it together to be able to get the win? You know, all of those things are in play, or they all might be true. But I think Jonathan Gannon's actually going to prove to be a good coach. I just don't know if it's going to be here that he proves to be a good coach. Jacoby Brissett, you heard what the coach said about you. What did you think about your performance?
It's what you want. You want a chance at the end of the game. Like I said last week, you want a chance to win it. You know, it's a couple of plays in the game that would have helped us not be in that situation that's eating at me right now. But, you know, proud of the way our guys fought. I thought they came out. Our guys answered the bell well. You know, I got to do a better job of finishing at the end of the game and making the right decisions and some throws that, you know, would have more than likely changed the outcome of this game.
I'm not going back on Doug's big one, but let me be fair and look at it from both sides. Hearing that quote, there could be a level of accountability that Kyler Murray has never had before that he might now. Jacoby Brissett just lit it up for at least 270 yards in back-to-back games. 50 more yards than Kyler Murray has thrown for this year. And he's standing at the podium saying, there's a couple plays in this game that are eating at me that I didn't do. I've got to be able to lead us down there. And a couple of throws I really wish I had back. And they pushed him on it. Said, hey, that second down you had Marvin. Yep, that's one of the major ones. I've got to hit that. I've got to get us in the end. You know, there's a level of accountability with Jacoby Brissett that immediately draws you in as a fan, I'm assuming. But if it draws you in, listen, his offensive line, the players on that offense, they're human. just like us, they get drawn into the same thing. Jacoby Brissett has a way of bringing guys together, and Kyler doesn't. A lot of hubbub about the quarterback sneak, Jonathan Gannon going for the fourth down instead of putting Green Bay in bad field position.
No, I definitely wanted to go. I would have went for it a little more than that.
Was there anything on that play that led to that breakdown? Or
That's been a successful play for us. We got a couple different plays in that situation, but we like to call. We just got to execute a little bit better. It looked to me, I don't know, I got to watch the tape on that. It looked like we might have muffed the snap. I don't know if you guys saw that or not. It didn't look exactly clean. It's a big mush pile, but we got to get a yard there. We got to surge and get a yard.
I 100% agree with going for it. Not from I don't care about the analytics. I care about flow of game, and I think you have to look at the past in this situation. So far this year, putting the defense on the field to preserve a win has not gone well. I mean, you could say they're basically 2-5 when they put their defense on the field to hold a lead. But even that New Orleans game was an incredible play by Buddha to knock a touchdown pass away that would have tied it. There's been a lot of defensive failures this year. And if you're like me and you feel more confident about the offense with Jacoby Brissett running it, well, then I want Jacoby Brissett going for it. So please don't think I'm hypocritical if you're listening to me, and we're still doing this together, Doug Franz Unplugged, and it's still presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. If we're still together, don't be mad at me 5 years from now if I have an exactly opposite point of view, same time frame, same situation. I'm looking at it through the prism of your defense has stunk in the fourth quarter, so why not keep them off the field? You pick up a first down inside the 2-minute warning, you're setting yourself up for success. So I like the decision to go for it. And I don't have a problem with the play call. You got to get it done. You didn't? Okay, you lose. But I think it was the right move. I don't know. That's what Town Hall Tuesday is for. I don't know how many of you think I'm crazy and think they should have punted right there. I just don't really trust that defense because, again, we've got more fourth quarter problems as the Cardinals lost the fourth quarter 14-3. And even though the Packers were the best fourth quarter scoring team and the Cardinals were the worst maybe like 29th in fourth quarter scoring, at some point you got to man up and stop somebody.
Well, I didn't stop them. Couple explosive after the takeaway, 2 explosive passes. We were limited in explosive passes, which that's an explosive team. I thought we were okay in the run game after the turnover. 2 explosives scored. And then on the last drive, we got to figure out a way to get off. We did some good things on third down. I think they converted 2 or 3, got to have it. So just got to put them in the right position and win.
Again, I might be the only one in the city. I might be the only talk show host in town that's saying this, but I think that's the right person for the job. You got to, for me, and listen, I was wrong on the Kyler thing. So if you're screaming fire Jonathan Gannon, you might be right. But when I look at it through the prism of you've got the owner, Michael Bidwell, what are you going to do? I give Jonathan Gannon another quarterback. I think Kyler was too set in his ways. He just doesn't have it. He's just not a guy that you're going to rally around. And that's what the quarterback position is. And I want to see what Jonathan Gannon can do when he gets a new quarterback. I won't give him 3 though. I mean, I got to see some real progress. And they're a long ways away from real progress. One of the things that I used to drive me crazy about Ken Wisenhunt was he would go through these 4, 5, 6 game losing streaks every year and say the same thing over and over again, which to me was disingenuous to the fan base. And I have felt like Jonathan Gannon has been falling into that trap the whole time. I liked this for him to acknowledge this isn't what you want to hear. And he's sick of saying it too.
7 games in, we'll do a deep dive, and we got to get it corrected, and that's, every losing coach, I'm sure, stands up here and says the same. But until we do it, that's going to keep happening. You know what I mean? And I fall into that boat. Like I said, it starts with me. I'm sitting in there, after the game, and it's like, damn, like I got to do more. I got to do something more. But I really do believe in the people that we have. So that's a positive. There's no doubt that's a positive. And they will battle. They will fight. I know that. Going back, losing how we've lost a couple of these games, 2 good teams in a row here. We went toe-to-toe with them. We just got to play a little better.
I don't know. Did you expect more from me today? I mean, the Monday after is when everybody's angry and fire, and you want blood. And I kind of feel like I'm the bloodletter. I'm the guy that you can count on to throw a fit, go into a rant. But I'm allowing kind of the realism of the situation. You're coaching for Michael Bidwill. I think your general manager failed you in thinking that this O-line was good enough. And you didn't go get a receiver, which I still thought was crazy. Your offense, your right tackle was either below average or hurt last year, and then you brought him back. Your guard play was poor last year, and now you got everybody back. Yet if Froholt had a good year last year, he has not had a good year this year. So you're almost looking at an offensive line where you say, I need everything but a left tackle. That's really hard to fix an entire offensive line. And so I'm looking at it through the prism of, I've said, like, I've hardly ever said that phrase, and I think I've said it like 7 times today. But how I see it is that it's the owner's job to spend money, and he doesn't. It's the general manager's job to draft well and to sign free agents that fill holes. I don't believe in trying to create a super team of great free agents because I don't think they gel and I don't think it works. But if you've got a culture established, you can go get one big one. They thought all they needed was pass rush, so they went out and got Sweat. Okay. But if you can't cover anybody, it doesn't matter. And if you don't have anybody to throw to, it doesn't matter. Not their fault about the running game. No way can you think that you're going to lose 2 running backs. Well, 3 running backs. That's not on the general manager. But looking at all of that, and then I look at the head coach and say, okay, you're down 3 running backs. You finally have your offensive line back out there with Will Hernandez healthy again. And you either don't have corners or they're hurt. And there's going to be growing pains. Like Will Johnson is not playing well. You can tell he is totally overwhelmed right now. I'm not backing down. He was the right pick. I liked him in the 2nd round. But let's not sugarcoat it. Let's acknowledge he's not doing well. But because I didn't believe in the Cardinals to start the season, it's hard for me now to get outraged by what's going on because I felt like that's exactly what was going to happen, is what's happening. Now, I did not expect people to run to the 1-yard line and fumble, stuff like that. And that's, I look at that as coaching in the sense of if you would have done more in showing film of other players doing that. I mean, that happens once a year. Somebody is dumb enough to do that every year. how you don't have a montage as a coaching staff to play for all the running backs, for all of the defenders if they get a turnover, and say, this will never happen. This will never happen on my team. If you are an established veteran and it kills us to cut you, you're benched. And if it doesn't kill us to cut you, you're cut. Like, I want to cut you if you do this. I'm going to the general manager and I'm going to say, is there any way we can figure out how to cut this guy who did this? I want you to know it straight out. I don't want you on this team if you can't run all the way past a 3-inch goal line. By the way, I made it up. I have no idea how thick the goal line is. That's, to me, the way you handle it, and that is not the way he handled it. Like, everybody sings Kumbaya. Oh, he made a mistake. He apologized. We're okay. Good. He deserves a second chance with another team. That's still a second chance. Maybe the rain is coming. It wasn't there before, but I just believe in Jonathan Gannon. And I think I'm going to be proven right in about 8 years when he gets fired, goes back to being a DC for 2 years, gets another opportunity, and crushes it in that job. I'm not going to say he's Bill Belichick, but guess what Bill Belichick did? Failed with the Browns because they didn't realize how good he was. And then he wins 7 rings. Yeah, pretty good day at the office right there. All right, coming up next, let's take a look at ASU and U of A. Obviously, 2 ships going in opposite directions on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. It's going to be hard to keep up with this list, but from Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical, we have a reverse osmosis system, a tankless water heater, and 2 air scrubbers that actually remove pollens and germs from the air that we breathe in our home. So what does Parker & Sons do? They only handle the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, and they do a great job. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
It's big, it's juicy, it's meaty. Get your burrito at Burrito Express. If you're having a hangover, a bad day, even a good day, still get your burrito at Burrito Express. It will make you feel better.
Tell me if I can sell you on this. If you put Kenny Dillingham in Tucson and you put Brent Brennan in Tempe, don't change anything. Well, coaching staffs, but really don't change anything else. Players are the same. What's their record? I look at U of A and I see 2 things in 2025 that separate them from the 2024 Sun Devils. Cam Scadaboo and Kenny Dillingham. Listen, you can't give Scad enough credit for last year because his physical attitude permeated the team. How can you take a play off when Cam doesn't? How are you afraid to run through someone when Cam isn't? And he electrified everybody on the team, and I think they played harder because of the way Cam played football. But also, I can't tell you enough the conversations I've had with Kenny Dillingham. And listen, it's not like we've gone out and had a beer for like 3 hours. I've had 1 beer with him. But the detailed conversations I've had with him about clock management, game management, thoughts about situations, or the times I've just asked him in media sessions. The guy is fascinating in his knowledge of clock management and game situations. It's his edge. And you watch the way he manipulates the end of a game and the way Brent Brennan manipulates the end of a game. And it's hard for me to look at Noah Fafita throwing more touchdown or the same number of touchdown passes as he did incomplete passes and think if Kenny Dillingham is there, you're winning these games. At least the last two, the Houston and the BYU game. UofA is winning those games. I have full confidence if we flipped it, that would happen. And it is just, Kenny Dillingham figured out a long time ago, so many teams are close, meaning they're not separate from another team. So many games are coming down to the wire. How do you coach late game situations? You talk about it all the time with your team. You show videos of other people's failures of late clock situations. Then you practice them ad nauseum. I have heard multiple players who have transferred in and one who has transferred out say nobody coaches end of game situations as efficiently and as often as Kenny Dillingham. And then here we go, Texas Tech. You get another end of game drive that is completely clutch and ends in a touchdown. We'll start with ASU. They were a winner over Texas Tech 26-21. Sam went 28 of 47 for 319 yards passing. He only had one touchdown pass. That went to Jordan Tyson, one of his 10 receptions. Tyson had 105 yards receiving. But it's not just that. Kenny Dillingham did something last week that can't be stressed enough in its brilliance, but also what could have been its ignorance. He had live tackling in week 7 of a college football season. That's huge. It's a shocker. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. You can get somebody hurt, your team's banged up, they're tired. But he specifically said, we are not playing physical football anymore, and I let it go, and I'm bringing it back right now. You know how many kids could have rebelled? They didn't. They accepted it after that Utah game. That's why they won. They won that game on sheer coaching. Now, listen, I'm not dumb. You got to have great players to win games. But the reason why I always stress coaching so much as the difference is not just calling a play on Saturday or Sunday. It's not a pregame speech. It's the different things you do to prepare your team during the week that separates coaches. Your ability to see what happened that was wrong and get it fixed more efficiently. And that's what this team has. That decision to hit is amazing. I mean, it might have saved the season. But the other flip side of this is the trust the players have in Kenny Dillingham. He's earned that to the point that they don't question that we're hitting in week 7. Okay, coach, that's what we do. And then they get to see the benefits. Listen, I know it's tough for us. I've had bosses I don't trust. But it is an example of here are a bunch of guys that did not question their leader and just did it. And then look at the reward. A huge win over Texas Tech. So Kenny Dillingham was asked about it in the press conference about kind of, how often are you going to hit again now that you saw the results of this? And he was kind of like, We just needed to get recentered.
Over the last year and a half, we've proven that that's not us. And if you get too caught up in, outside noise, you can get convinced of something you're not. And you can't get convinced of something you're not. Now, do you have to self-correct when you realize that maybe you've miscalculated and steered something in the wrong direction? Yeah. Right? That's what you got to do. But that doesn't mean that you're going in the wrong direction. It just means you may be 5 degrees, 7 degrees off. Right? And I think, good programs, they don't turn left or right. They just turn a little bit. And all we did the exact same practice. We just said, hey, live, 5 minutes. Hey, thud. Right? So we didn't turn the ship a different direction. We just moved it 5 to 7 degrees. And the guys responded tonight, whatever time it is.
I like that. And it's a good lesson for all of us in the sense of, do you need to change? Do you need to adjust? Or do you need to stay the course? And don't be afraid of the answer. Look hard. Look hard at which one of those three it is. For me, I'm going to choose to adjust. I need to figure out a way to get a little more sleep while still giving you everything I have, while becoming more efficient and maybe breaking out of the old way that I do things. What about you? It's something that you're doing just off. It's just not working. It's not the way. It's not who you want to be. It's not where you want to go. Well, you got to change. Doesn't mean you have to change who you are at your core, but something's got to change. And if you believe in your path, and even if it's not the path that is going as well as you want it to be, well, then stay on that path. If you know that you're making the right decisions. This next one I want to play for you, I included the question in this. I was floored by this. I want to tread lightly here because I say this with a great deal of respect and sympathy, and it might not come across that way in today's day and age, but it's not only is it unplugged, it's just me. I'm totally unfiltered. Here I am. And this is how I think. But there was a woman there at the press conference that asked a question that was just very odd in her delivery. I'm going to play you everything. I don't have any idea if there are any issues with her. But she said, "It's nice to meet you," which was very strange for a coach that's been here 3 years and been the Big 12 champion and a quarterback that's been here over 2. To say "nice to meet you" is like, okay, that's not what we're doing here. We're in the media. We ask our questions and then we write our stories or we go write our reports or whatever. We're all in a hurry. So this isn't a meet and greet. And then her question was really choppy. I don't know if you call it nervous, but it felt like she was painfully nervous. Like I was nervous waiting for the question to end. It was just not what you normally get in a presser. Not comfortable. And Kenny Dillingham put on a display of respect and patience that I thought was phenomenal. And then as soon as he was done talking, Sam Levitt followed his head coach's lead. And I just thought, my job is to kind of bring you places where I don't think you get to go very often. And I don't know if there's something better I can play for you that shows you who Kenny Dillingham is.
Hey guys, it's nice to meet you, both of you. It's Aya Abdeen for Devils in Detail. I have two questions. So first for Kenny, how does it wins like this help set the momentum for the Sun Devils for the next few weeks? And for Sam, how do you feel after missing a game the week before and in your performance today?
Yeah, good question. I think anytime you have a win like this, it rejuvenizes your program. especially after the embarrassment of, I'm going to talk about it because I'm still so embarrassed by it, of 2 weeks ago. So anytime you can have a win like this, it can definitely put you in the right direction. But the key is, doesn't make you complacent. The reason we could win this game is because we lost the game prior. We don't win this game if we beat Utah. We don't win this game if we have close versus Utah. We only won this game because we were so embarrassed that our guys had a different level of intensity and focus, and we found it. And now the challenge is, through the praise, can we continue to have it? And so I would say it's a positive, but it can also be a negative if we don't use it to continue to drive us.
Yeah, I mean, just, missing last week was rough. I remember we were driving on the bus on the way to the game, and it's obviously, we're in Arizona, so it doesn't really get fall weather out here. So we get there and, leaves are falling and it feels like real football. So we're on the way to the stadium. I got my headphones on and I just started bawling, because it's just a game that I put my everything into and I couldn't be out there for my guys. So, it was really rough on me. But I tried to do my best, for them, and then it really just gave extra motivation going into this weekend. I was sitting in the cold tub room before this game and got those same emotions, kind of helped propel me to this win.
That woman got the two best answers of the press conference. Listen, the class of Kenny Dillingham and Sam, and then to get those answers. Kenny says they're not going to win that game if they don't lose to Utah. And it's because Texas Tech is so good that ASU would not have had the proper intensity going into that game if they didn't have Tuesday's practice. There's no way they would have had Tuesday's practice if they had beaten Utah. And then for Sam to admit that he was crying on his way into the game last week, feeling like he let his teammates down. That's not stuff we would have known about without that. I just thought that was really, really interesting and a really, just a great, great eye-opener. Greg Moore, Arizona Republic, asked about the final drive, which was pretty cool to kind of get into the head of Sam Leavitt.
Yeah, I mean, we had done really good with control passing all game. So going into that 2 minute, there wasn't too much worry there. I was just getting our guys dialed, no pre-snap penalties. Holding's taking care of the ball, and, we're going to drive down the field. And then it was just really up to me to, put the ball in their hands and have them make plays. And that's what happened, up front. I was really proud of the guys. We had some guys dinged up, and people had to step up, had a true freshman in there came out and played really well. So I was all props to them.
I did something myself in this game that I'm not really proud of. I made a mistake. It was the third time in my life I had ever questioned the integrity of officials. I think I'm really good and really consistent at never going after refs. You don't lose games because of refs. And with the officials calling that fourth down roughing the passer penalty, and that was 100% roughing the passer. But for them to actually call it shows they had integrity. I thought the officiating was terrible. But I didn't have a right to question their integrity. And the reason why I bring that up is the amount of holding that I thought Texas Tech got away with. Not as bad on the offensive line, but in punt coverage and in the defensive secondary it wasn't, for me, acceptable. But you know what? Hey, make adjustments, live with it if they're going to call it that way. But once the officials called holding on the Texas Tech 2-point conversion to give them another attempt, I lost my mind. Absolutely lost my mind. Because that wasn't even remotely as bad as what they were doing to Jordan Tyson. So I am not denying in any way ASU held on the Texas Tech 2-point conversion that was flagged. But you got to be consistent. If you're going to let all the other ones go, why are you calling that? If you're calling that, why are you letting all the other ones go? That's what was atrocious officiating to me. And because it was going on a lot. Like I tweeted out early in the first quarter, okay, that was clearly holding. They didn't call it. So let's keep an eye on this. Let's see where this goes. And I was in shock when they called the 2-point conversion. I thought that was ridiculous. The scenario for ASU at the end of the game, brilliant clock management to eat as much clock as you could, but still at the same time drive the ball down the field, get the go-ahead touchdown, not panic. And it was neat listening to Sam Levitt talk about his game management knowledge because of playing for Kenny Dillingham.
Honestly, throughout the week, you talk about a coach that just knows your players well. So he knows how to approach you in those moments and talk about someone who talks about every single scenario there is. And, as soon as I come in, what game were we watching?
We were watching Miami versus
Louisville. Yeah, right before half, there's a little debate, on what they should have done with the clock management. And we're just coming in right there at the meeting, and I'm talking about what I think we should do versus what he thinks. And, that's what happens on game day. We're just on the same page. So it's one of the best situations for me to play in.
When you coach more during the week, you can coach less during the game. And you can trust your player to understand what to do. Because if you're trying to scream at the refs and the players what you want in game management, something's going to get lost. But when your player can make the decisions based on all the conversations he's had with you and watching other games, learning from practice, it makes you that much more lethal. That's why, if you remember at the beginning of the year, I was all bent out of shape at the CBS Sports guys for all picking ASU to not win the Big 12. I was fine if you had a legitimate reason for why you liked someone else. What got me all bent out of shape is one of them said they were 5-0 in one possession games. There's no way that's going to be repeated. Listen, that's a guy that's not working hard. That's all you can say. He's not respecting what Kenny Dillingham does to make sure his team is more prepared than any opponent to handle one possession games. One of the things he did is early in the game, he went for it on 4th and 1. Didn't get it. Threw a deep shot to Jordan Tyson. This is an interesting exchange. So Sam Levitt's up on the podium with Coach. The question is asked about going for it on 4th and 1. Sam immediately blames himself. Hello, Kyler. The question wasn't even asked to Sam Levitt, but Sam immediately jumps in and blames himself. Then you'll hear Coach talk about the decision of 4th and 1, how he loved it. I had my trusted quarterback throw it to the best receiver in college football this year. And okay, so what? It didn't work. But we'll do that all day. So then Chris Cartman of Sun Devil Source asks a follow-up of whether or not he thought that was a penalty when Jordan Tyson was clearly held on 4th and 1. Out of habit, Coach said yes, because he starts a lot of his answers with, yeah, well, and then he starts going into his answer. So he says yes, starts going into his answer to the question, and then realize he's already said yes, and someone's going to take that as his answer that yes, he thought it was a penalty. So it was pretty entertaining. But he did think it was a penalty, clearly.
That was on me. I got to make a play.
No, we're going to go for it. He's back there, and we get him to throw it to JT? Give me that one. I'll take that 10 out of 10. I don't care if it works or not. I'm going to sleep great at night, knowing that it was 4th and 1 of the 50, and we got him to get to throw it to JT. I'm great.
Should that have been a penalty?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk through. I was not saying yes. I was saying responding.
Gotcha.
Golly, got me. Great, fine. Yeah, I don't worry about that. They didn't throw it, and it is what it is. Carry on.
They didn't throw it. It is what it is. Yeah, okay. That was good. That was fun. This last one from Kenny, I've been waiting to play this for you the whole time. I probably should have played it first and went straight to it. I think this is awesome. He had mentioned a couple times about the Utah game. And then Doug Holler of The Athletic, really good writer and a long time on the ASU beat. He picked up on it. And the reason why this is a big deal is, I don't want to act like I'm best friends with Kenny in any way. I consider him a friend. I hope he considers me a friend. But I also hope he understands I have a job to do. And if the day comes I think he should be fired, I'm going to say it. And I know that that's kind of weird. Hey, you're my friend. I think you should be fired. But I got to do my job. He's got to do his job. Yet, for Kenny to be still talking about the Utah loss, I've never heard him like this. You just beat the number 7 team in the country. And yet he's still focused on how bad they played against Utah. And he had mentioned it a couple times in this presser a week later. This is all from Saturday. And Doug Holler asked him about that loss and overcoming the Utah loss and hitting this week and having a physical practice. And listen to where Kenny goes, because I think this is one of those life's lessons.
Yeah, I think, like I said, you gotta just self-reflect. Nobody's perfect. So the goal is you can't worry about what you didn't do as good as you wanted to. It's frustrating, but you have to worry about how to fix problems, right? You just continually talking about a problem doesn't solve it. So I'm a big believer in finding problems and then what do you have to do to solve it? If some people just like to complain, right? That's not a good way to get better. You got to find solutions to problems. So it beat me up a lot, but I sat down and I said, okay, well, I called some people. I called 2 coaches that I knew that I have a lot of respect for. And I said, hey, this is the situation we're in. We got guys dinged up. We've got guys in green jerseys. We're not as physical as we were. We're a veteran team. I've never been in this situation. Help. And I took their advice and we did it. So, I wish I could even take credit for how we changed practice. I just listened to other people who have been through this. And I think that's what every player goes through too, is you're just constantly listening to people that can make you better.
Well over 30 years for me. Did my first talk show in 1991. Yes, I was a college student, so you could argue, well, you weren't being paid yet. And then got my first part-time job in radio in 1994 from a real-life business and not the college radio station. So I've been doing this a long time. I've never heard that phrase from a Division I or NFL college football coach.
I've never been in this situation. Help.
It's unbelievable how lucky this city is to have that guy. It just doesn't get said enough. He admitted to everybody in the world, in a sense, but to all of ASU, I don't have all the answers. Almost every coach acts like they have all the answers. He just admitted he didn't. Humble enough to ask, humble enough to follow advice, passionate enough to make it work. I've said for quite a few years now that the best opinion I ever had in talk radio was when I told you the Cardinals should trade Kyler Murray. As soon as the Murray manifesto came out from his agent, trade him. And if you remember that episode, I explained it based on the fact that the clause in the CBA was going to elevate his money so high in year 5 that he's not worth it. And if he's going to act like this now, it's not going to get any better. Trade him. I'm going to backtrack and say that's my second best opinion that I've ever had. Me screaming from the mountaintops, hire Kenny Dillingham. That's going to be my number one.
I'm not sure yet. That's an ongoing staff discussion or a staff debate or a staff argument or whatever you want to call it, just because it's so complicated.
The Zona Zoo sold out faster than it's ever sold out, and I think we have a chance to make Saturday's game a rocking, fun, exciting atmosphere for a hell of a football game. I think the culture is healthy.
Like no one's more pissed off than I am.
I'm hitting on all cylinders, people. Let's go.
I'm not sure. I really don't operate that way. I'm like today. I'm just worried about today.
You know, and Michael and oh my gosh, long snapper, I just forgot his name. Justin.
That's a great question, and I have no idea. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, the portal is part of it. I hope that our players stay. I'm done being average. It's time for me to man up and kick ass and attack this thing. Y'all feeling my jacket?
I don't think so. I mean, he caught 10 balls tonight, right? Chris? No, 5?
6. Six. And so obviously I'm pissed off and upset, and so is every person in this program.
Let's do UofA. They're a loser, 31-28. Had the lead, blew the lead, marched down to tie the game, showing great resilience, and then gave up another drive and another comeback, and Houston kicks a field goal, and they win. I don't think this is possible. To say a quarterback threw 2 incompletions and 2 touchdown passes and the team lost is just impossible to me to comprehend. And I watched the game, and I don't understand how a guy can go 24 of 26 for 269, not throw an interception, and his team loses. Here is Brent Brennan after the game.
That was just a really tough day. And, you know, I think we came out fast and physical early. I think we played, you know, set the tone early for how we wanted to play in that game. And, you know, and there was a lot to be proud of, you know, early on in that game and, you know, in the second quarter. I felt like a huge momentum swing was when we didn't get the fourth down there, when we went for it, you know, deep in the red zone, and then ended up giving points on the backside of that. And so, you know, this team is hurting right now. You lose on the last play of the game, you lose in double overtime, and we have a bye week, which is good because we need to practice and we need to get better at tackling and blocking and playing freaking football. We didn't force any turnovers today, as far as I know. You know, so a huge point of emphasis, win the turnover battle. We did not do that today. And so obviously I'm pissed off and upset, and so is every person in this program, because I think we have grown a lot. I think we've made a ton of progress, but to not close that thing out when we had an opportunity to today just makes every person in here sick. So, and that starts with me. That's my job. And so we're going to get back to work on it. I just feel for our fans. I feel for our players. I feel for our students and everybody at the UofA, because we've got a good football team, and we're going to get to work fixing it. We've got a ton of football left to play. I believe in this team. I believe in these kids. I got faith in this team, and we're going to get to work. We were aggressive. We had our foot on the gas pedal in the fourth quarter. We went for it on fourth down 3 or 4 times. Three, right? And all successful, right? Yeah, damn right.
It's so weird when he says, we were aggressive, we went for it on fourth down. Like he's begging you to respect him. Man. I feel like such a jerk talking about him. I'm being totally serious, because what a good person. You can tell he's a really good person. He's just not a Power 4 football coach, head coach. I just don't see it. I still don't see it. And then when he has his little lines that are hilarious, I mean, there has to be that guy in your life when he gets really upset, you start laughing. And to me, that's who he is. You got to win a game when you have a quarterback that did as well as Fafita did. You got to win the game.
You know how I feel about Noah Fafita. He's special in every way. I mean that. And to be 24 or 26, like, how many times has that ever happened in college football? Like, that's a ridiculous day. I see Tony Daniel in the room. I promise you, he never went 24 for 26. All right. But no, I think what's happening is that the kind of synergy between Noah and Coach Daggy and the offense is like continues to accelerate. The more we play, the more we know each other, the more we get into the flow of things. And I think Noah's trusting the offense and believing in Coach Daggy, and you're seeing good results. Now, damn it, we want to win. We want to win the damn game. And so that's one of those things that we have to go back and figure out. Where are the moments that we didn't play complimentary football? Where are the moments that could we have put Noah in a better position to use his playmaking to, like, put us over the edge late in the game when we needed it, or early in the game when we needed it? And those are the things that we got to fix.
Yeah, just not feeling it with him. But he tries to act all angry. And I do love Danny Gonzalez, but boy, was there massive failures defensively in this game. Multiple opportunities to get off the field on third down. And multiple failures. I wouldn't blatantly say coaching error, but more execution, which is part of coaching. What are you doing in practice that somebody thought it was okay to do what they were doing? Coach Brennan was asked, what's your message to the team now after this latest loss?
My message to the team was that we have a good football team. We've lost to two good teams on the last play of the game and in double overtime. And as much as that hurts, the good news is we can fix it. You know, the easiest errors to fix are assignment errors. If you get beat by a better player, like I'm trying to cover Michael Jordan, he's going to score a lot of points on me. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that happens in football. You just can't. You're playing against someone better than you. But I don't think that's the case these last 2 weeks. I think we showed like we can play with these people, right? We're right there. And so, is with the team, I was like, okay, let's fix what we can fix, right? Let's stay together and not let the outside world and social media and whoever pull us apart. And let's do the right thing for each other right now, because they play hard for each other. Now, there's no question about that. That shows up every week, and the way they responded late in this game was fantastic. And a week ago, we were down 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and they came roaring back. So these kids are fighting their ass off. We're going to have a good football team.
Now, don't pull a Jonathan Gannon and keep telling us that you're going to have a good football team. Win the game. And then tell us that you are a good football team. Even though I'm just horribly unimpressed with Brent Brennan, let me give you one that did grab me. If you didn't see the game, UofA had a huge unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. One of their coaches was in the white. So that white strip of sideline, that's the referee's domain. And if the referee bumps into you during a play, that's sideline interference. If it happens when a play isn't going on, then it's a sideline warning. If it happens where you hit a moving official, then it's not a warning. It's an unsportsmanlike conduct. And that's what UofA got hit with. And coach was asked who it was and what happened. And I got to tell you, this was actually pretty manly of Brent Brennan. He dropped the hammer here.
Yeah. I wish it was a sideline warning. It was not. And so that was Coach Wade. But I'll tell you this, there's no person on our staff, in our program, or in our athletic department that's worthy of 15. Nobody. Not me, not Coach Wade, nobody. That's ridiculous. And so we're going to address that too.
So if you're an ASU fan or you're just being nice to me and listening, you don't know the UofA coaching staff. That's their wide receivers coach. And that's kind of a hammer drop right there. Hey, I don't care who you are. None of you, nobody on the athletic department staff is worth a 15-yard penalty. I was kind of proud of that one. I do admit, that was kind of big time. That was a big time statement. Bye week for UofA, then they got Colorado. There are issues if you lose to Colorado. There are issues. You got to get that one. You got to get that one done. In the meantime, ASU's got Houston. Every single opponent Arizona State has had this year. 0 losses or 1 loss. Every single one. That's how good the teams have been that they've faced. Pretty good stat right there. Pretty good stat. All right, coming up next, time for Versus Vegas. And for me to go to bed on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler on starting 100 Mile Brewing Company.
What started 100 Mile Brewing Company is I actually have a degree in microbiology from ASU. Go Devils. And went back to school. I found out that UC San Diego had a brewing program, so I enrolled in that. And with the intention of opening a brewery, I came back to Tempe because it's Sun Devil country. I wanted to open a brewery in Tempe, which fresh, it never gets old is our tagline. And I'm pretty much a stickler about fresh beer. It's got to be fresh. Otherwise, it's not going to be served here. No, actually, I wish I could go to bed before I talk about Versus Vegas. Oh, my gosh.
Terrible. Arg. Ouch. Oh my gosh, did I stink. That was rough. So first of all, I was sounding like Coach Jonathan Gannon the way I keep sitting here before you and explaining a loss as it's 6:07 in the morning and I'm just starting the versus Vegas. But I did get a little better. I cleaned up one aspect of my Sunday nights. It's just getting really difficult I want to make sure I always watch UofA, I always watch ASU, I always watch baseball, and I always watch the Cardinals, and then I always watch the Vikings with my daughter because I want to be dad. And to do all that, and then get going to Channel 12 and be on 12 News, and then get home at midnight, and then start the podcast. And the podcast normally takes me about 8 hours to put together, and all of a sudden I'm trying to do it in 6. Not going well, but I figured one thing out, streamlined it a little bit, and I'll just keep working on it for a Monday morning. But thank you for your patience. I never want to take you for granted. It was rough. It was rough. Went for a lot of blood money in this round and didn't get any of it, really. I took Texas Tech minus the 6.5. I didn't know for sure if Baron Morton, the quarterback, was going to play, but it didn't matter to me because, I hate to say it, the injury to Ben Coleman. The injury to Ben Coleman and the foot of Sam Leavitt, I thought that was going to be enough that Texas Tech was going to cover the 6.5. So we get that wrong. But that's good. You know, you want to get it wrong with blood money. The only time I hate it is if I'm going for blood money and the other team wins and doesn't cover. So we didn't have to worry about that. Sun Devils win, but we're wrong. We took Bama minus the 6.5 over Tennessee. I said, I think they're going to kill them. Bama won by 17. We cruised to that one. So 1-1. I told you I thought May would have 2 touchdown passes for the Patriots. Got that one right. So that was a nice juicer, too. It was about like 135 juice. The problem was we had May over 240 yards passing, and he had 222. Missed it by 18, so that was a little heartbreaking. We took the Washington Commanders to cover the 2.5 easily over Dallas, and the Washington Commanders did not cover because they didn't win. They got doubled up. Dallas annihilated them 44-22, and they might have even lost their quarterback as Jaden Daniels is getting an MRI on the hamstring. We took Vlad Guerrero to hit a home run on Friday, and it was like the only day that he didn't. You realize Vlad Guerrero has 6 home runs in the postseason, has 5 walks in the postseason, has 2 strikeouts in the postseason. The man has more homers than strikeouts. I mean, that's hard to do in a game, let alone an entire postseason. Game 7 tonight. Now, truthfully, the Vlad Guerrero home run bet, that's a plus 366, G. With that kind of thing, you normally don't count it on your record. But I do because of the amount of time. It's a way to be even. The amount of times that I'm taking a minus 180 game, then I got to suck it up and just add that to the record when I fail on an outlier pick like picking Vlad to hit a home run. I took LSU plus the 3 over Vandy. Had no idea or had no problem with that one. I knew I was going to get that one right, and I didn't. Vandy won by 7, so we blew that. I told you I loved UofA on the money line against Houston. Houston comes back, wins 31-28. We got that one wrong. I said I think Ole Miss is going to beat Georgia, but I definitely guarantee we've got it right. Ole Miss plus the 7.5. I even said Vegas got it wrong, just plain got it wrong. Ole Miss is easily with the 7.5. If you didn't see the game, Georgia outscored Ole Miss 17-0 in the fourth quarter to come back and win the game by 8. By 8. We had Georgia losing by 7.5 or better, and they win by 8. I shouldn't say we had Georgia lose. We had Ole Miss losing by 7.5 or less. They lose by 8. in a game that they were up, oh my gosh, by 9 in the fourth quarter. We took our Bobcats, my Bobcats, to go over the total with NIU. The total was 40.5. OU scored 48 on their own, so we got that one right. In the last bit of blood money, we took Green Bay to cover the 6.5 against Arizona. They covered 4. They did not cover 6.5. So out of those 10 wagers, we only went 3-7 yesterday. 3-7. The Ole Miss Georgia one's the real kicker. 17-0 fourth quarter. All right, today, I like the Blue Jays on the money line against Seattle. I think if the Blue Jays are going to the World Series. I really like Tampa Bay +6 against Detroit. I think Detroit wins. But man, Baker just finds a way. Especially if Tampa Bay's down by 2 touchdowns. You know they're going to score another touchdown at the end, get the backdoor cover. So we'll take the Bucks +6. And then Seattle fans, it's not all bad since I picked the Blue Jays. I have the Seahawks covering against Houston. Seattle's home tonight. There's 2 Monday Night Football games, and I think Seattle will easily cover. So we've got Blue Jays on the money line, Seahawks covering the field goal, and Tampa Bay with the 6. Sound credits today. I got the Brent Brennan from the University of Arizona Wildcat YouTube page. I got the Cardinal sound from the Cardinals YouTube page, AZ Cardinals. They also broadcast all of their press conferences at azcardinals.com, so free plug for them. I also got the Sam Levitt and the Kenny Dillingham from Sun Devil Source, even though I was there for it. And I think that's it. Do you mind if I cheat and look? Did I pull anything else? No? Okay, events. Coming up in 2 weeks, we're pulling 2 tickets to go to a Cardinals game. For Whirlwind Plus members have a chance to win. November 2nd, free 9-hole 2-person scramble. And November 11th, we're going to Bell's to record commercials and eat lunch. How about that? Al, I haven't really gone through everything yet, so Santan Ford, 202 of Val Vista. I am Santan Ford, Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. Burrito Express with locations all across the east side and coming to a Circle K near you. 100 Mile Brewing Company, home of the 3rd greatest cheese curds in the history of mankind. And the home of A Mountain Amber Ale, the best beer ever made in the state of Arizona. And Trophy Bar that has Grandma Kate's rigatoni. Did you get all that, Al?
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug French Unplugged.